Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Saturday night edition of LFC Transfer Room. Thank you for joining us on the Saturday Night Club, slightly later than usually scheduled, but with the same astounding analysis and clever and canny content. It is an absolutely sweltering day here in the UK, so hopefully you're all joining us with something very, very cold to wet your lips. It is the turn of the internationals this weekend for domestic teams, and with the Mighty Reds not being in action, all attention turns to the nations, with perhaps not just the round-shaped ball being on people's television screens. Tonight, I'm joined by Kev Williams, my podcast host, and the founder of Kev TV. Kev, how are you?
I'm doing well, Rich. All good to be on. Same lineup as last week. I hope if any quizzes come along, I do as awful as what I did as last week. So no, all good, mate. Looking forward to the Pumas game against England later as well after this. So all good, mate.
You mean the England game against the Pumas? That's what you meant, wasn't it, Kev?
Yeah.
Kev, talking about being my pod co-host, is there any news that we should share with our listeners about this upcoming week?
Yes, we've got a guest from the Athletic, to do with data analytics. Me and your good self will be doing that early doors next week, and then we'll be put out to the masses probably later on in the week. Probably Friday, is it, Richie, that we send them out to everyone?
Yeah, I believe so. After Kev and I have had a go for about an hour on a podcast, it does take a lot of editing. So we'd need those couple of days to probably get the lads to edit everything out.
You need a camera just to get my head in. That's it. That's the problem.
We're also joined by Neil, the reigning, defending, undisputed Saturday Night Club quiz master and champion. And you will be pleased to know, all of you, that I do have a few more quiz rounds for you guys and everybody in the chat as well. Please do contribute tonight. It is an international special. Neil, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very good. I think it was a bit of beginner's luck last week, to be honest. And I don't really want to point out that I also said it would be 3-0 against Aston Villa. So, yeah, I'm fine, thank you. A little bit hot. It is very, very hot in the UK. Not enjoying the international break and looking forward to next weekend already.
Yeah, absolutely. It's as nice sometimes as it is for certain players to get a rest when they're not selected for England, or when they are selected, they don't even get on the pitch. But let's not talk about Trent Alexander-Arnold in England today. It is a slightly boring and flat weekend without the Reds in action. Colin, we've been moaning about the weather over here. That's pretty standard weather, isn't it, for you across the pond, or are you in cooler climates?
No, it's like 90 degrees here in Pittsburgh today. So, which is a problem for me because as soon as September comes, the hoodies come out and like the fall gear. I'm ready. I love fall, but no, I look like an idiot walking around with like a hoodie on. It's absolutely sweltering.
At least you've taken your hoodie off, right?
No, still.
No, still there.
Still on. It's nice and cool in the house here today, but outside.
There we go. So on tonight's stream, as I said, we will still be exploring all things Liverpool Football Club, and we will start with the first item on the agenda, which came out in the past 24 hours, and that was Virgil van Dijk being given an additional one-match ban and £100,000 fine. This is following his comments that I will not repeat, but it rhymes with ducking joke. So that was what he said to the referee. And he is, I believe, the first person this season to actually fall under the sanction. So I personally think that if this is the sanction, it's a one-match ban, a pretty hefty fine, £100,000, and I'll run through a couple of the fines that we've seen in the past. But if this is the way the FA want to go, then fair enough, right? If they implement this to absolutely every single player who now swears at a referee, I can't wait to see the ban list for next week because it's going to be huge. Kev, thoughts on Virgil's one-match ban? Is it enough if we take that in isolation?
It should be. I think it was coming. I was expecting it, to be honest. I thought it would be a 2-match ban myself when he got his marching orders. I think it's about getting respect, and and consistency at the PGMO. And if this is the way that they want to go down the route of getting to that kind of respect for the referees, then I'm all for it. I'm totally behind it. And I now expect consistency because they've now set the precedent with Virgil as to what should be the parameters for this season for any player. Will we see that consistency? I very much doubt it. And from the comments I've seen already in regards to it, I don't think there'll be many that are willing to think that this is just going to be a consistent thing that we'll see. It will. It seems to be always us, and the penalisation always comes in against us, and it's always heavy. Now that maybe some people think of me as a red looking through red tinted glasses, but it does feel as though that they do like to come down on us quite hard. I just hope that there is that level of consistency that we get. It's mad, isn't it? It's ironic that I've been watching rugby today, and the respect that they get the referees is something I actually am jealous of and wish we could replicate in our leagues. Sadly, we can't for whatever reason, and it doesn't help when you got poor refereeing decisions. So I applaud I like the fact that they've gone down this route. I'm sad it's against us that it's come about, but you can't be doing what Virgil did and expect to get away with nothing. But this is the way we're going now, and this is what we need to look up to. So it's a market for everyone. Will we see it next week? I very much doubt.
And I think that will be a lot of frustrations. If I am Liverpool Football Club, I'm hiring someone just to look at every single match and saying, right, they've said something, and they've said something. Where's your consistency? Talking about the fines then. Now, when we say £100,000, yes, it's a lot of money. Virgil van Dijk probably earns double that in a week, but it is still a hefty amount of money. And whether or not we agree with the fine, Luis Suarez was found guilty of racial abuse, and he had a £40,000 fine and obviously an 8-game ban. Kiko Castilla was found guilty of racial abuse and had a £60,000 fine and an 8-game ban. Millwall fans were found guilty of racial abuse, and that was a £10,000 fine to the club. Carlisle fans were found guilty of racial abuse and had a £7,000 fine to the club. Van Dijk calls the refereeing decision an effing joke, and he has a £100,000 fine. Neil, do you think that this is going to be a flat rate, £100,000 to everyone who says this? Can even PMG or GGO even do this? Do you think that A, is the fine fair, the amount, and B, is it going to be consistent, as in it's £100,000 to everybody?
I think consistency is probably the frustration about all of this. I would not disagree. I think I'm still unsure whether it was a red card or not. If he'd have been given a yellow, I don't think there'd have been too many complaints. And he didn't act well afterwards, and I think he's acknowledged that himself now on social media. So he's been punished, probably rightly so. The financial punishment does seem quite harsh, and now it seems a lot of money when you compare it to other instances of that. It's fine if it's applied consistently. So next week, when we see someone calling the ref this and that, and they're sent off for it in a similar manner to Virgil, it should be the precedent of you get an extra game and you get fined £100,000. If that is applied consistently, I'm sure everyone will be fine with it. The question is, will it be applied consistently? I very much have my doubts. And I think what happens is at the start of the season, they like to lay down the law quite early, and they go a bit stricter in the early weeks of the season. And I'm sure we'll see more lenience towards these type of things as the season progresses. So £100,000 to Virgil van Dijk, less than half a week's wages to him. That's not going to be a problem, assuming he pays it. I don't know. Maybe the club pay it, but it needs to be consistent.
Yeah, we'll see what that means going forward. Colin, 2-game ban then. Mm-hmm. Luckily, I would say, looking at Liverpool's fixtures, obviously we have Wolves coming up first. That he will be missing. have we actually not looked out? Because obviously, we do want Virgil in there every single minute of every single game. But they do play Wolves away and Liverpool. Liverpool play West Ham at home.
Mm-hmm.
Are they two good games for Virgil to miss? Now it looks like Konate might very well be back in contention. He did post, I think he was mid-run or post-run, perhaps. So it looked like he was, getting back to fitness.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it came at a pretty decent time. Like it could have been much worse. A much more difficult stretch of games for him to be missing. Where I think, if we're playing a kind of real high caliber opponent, maybe on an away day, you really feel that, that loss if he's not there. Wolves away, not the easiest fixture, not a fixture that we've had the most amount of luck or consistent great performances in. But it's a game that we absolutely expect to win and absolutely expect to win regardless of whether or not he's in. So I don't think that expectation changes. It is lucky that it's not, in a run of, United, Chelsea, City, Tottenham with the way that they're playing. I think avoiding those games with his band would be much more punitive, I think, on the PGMOL's end.
Yeah, Konate coming back is massive. Now, to be fair, Gomez and Matip I thought actually did really well in the absence of Van Dijk. So we'll obviously see how it goes. Paul has asked, random question, who gets the money when a player is fined? It actually goes to the FA. And I've just had a look at the FA's report and financial statements. And it basically says other income of 18 million. So this was obviously in one financial year, includes income from tournaments, FA learning courses, disciplinary fines, and England fans membership. So that obviously goes back into the FA pot, who hopefully puts it towards good causes and grassroots football. So hopefully, Paul, that answers your question. And just to show how contentious it all is with this fine and extra ban, Paul, again, 40k, 8 games, definitely more severe, missing the 8 games, no doubt. It was just the money that we were questioning. Basil Flower says Virgil being banned, doesn't really agree with it. And then we have people saying, obviously, that they do agree with the ban. I myself do agree with the ban. However, we'll see how it's implemented across. Right.
Sorry, Rich, just on the ban. I think he's served his one match.
He served one. That's right. And it's just Wolves.
More, which is the Wolves game. So he will be back for the West Ham game. And I think there's a European game before West Ham against Lask. So it is only the one more game that he'll be banned for.
Yeah, we played so well against Aston Villa. I actually forgot he wasn't on the pitch. In some ways, what's happened since he left the pitch that day has been great, hasn't it? Because it's restored a bit of confidence, particularly in Joe Gomez and Joel Matip as well. And I thought, Aston Villa was our most comfortable performance. So maybe it wasn't such a bad thing. And it'll be good to get him back, but it's also good for the other lads to get a confidence boost early in the season. Absolutely. And I shout out to Andrew Robertson as well, who I thought had a really good game too in the absence of Virgil van Dijk. Please do make sure that you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It does all go back into you. So please do make sure that you do that. We have almost 50 people in here. So please make sure we have 50 likes and subscriptions. What I would like to go on to then is quiz round 1. I know that you guys cannot wait. And everybody else in the chat, please do get involved in this, but don't hit the enter until the 60 seconds are up, because I do not want Kev, Neil, or Colin getting any of your wisdom. Okay? So get your pens and papers ready. You should know by now that on a Saturday night, it is a quiz night. So, are we ready? Everyone at home ready? I hope that you are. Since it's an international weekend, I have made the quiz international themed. What I'm looking for are players who have played for Liverpool, who have the most caps for England whilst playing for the club. So, for example, Raheem Sterling has a total of 82 caps, but only 16 whilst playing for Liverpool, so he doesn't make the top 10. Okay, so I need to know who are the top 10 players who, whilst playing for Liverpool, have the most caps for England. Okay, is that question clear? Yeah, sound.
Good.
Right. Stopwatch. On your marks, get set, go. Your 60 seconds starts now. And I'm just going to fill the time because I don't want us all sitting quietly for 60 seconds. So what we're looking for here, guys, everybody else at home, please don't press enter in onto the chat, but do have a go. We're looking for the top 10 players who played for Liverpool, who have the most caps for England whilst playing for the club. So the example I gave earlier about Raheem Sterling's 82 caps, whilst that would fall into the top 10, he actually only had 16 whilst playing for Liverpool. So he would not count. Okay, there will be 3 rounds tonight on the quiz. 3 rounds tonight.
3 rounds for me to lose.
And me, Colt. That's Neil going to win this again.
I'm struggling.
He says this, and then he'll knock out about 10, you know.
It is a tricky one. We are at 60 seconds now. Even if you didn't get all 10, etc., I will give you 2 points for each correct answer. You are going to have to mark your own. Okay, I am a teacher by trade, and I can't be bothered to mark at the weekend, so I'm definitely not marking your guys' work. If you have any of the following, please give yourself a tick. Okay. Vase of Flowers, no, I didn't just mean the Premier League era. Okay, it could have been anybody. Okay, could have been anybody. So at top of the list with no surprise, anyone have a guess?
Gerrard.
Yeah, Stevie G with 114. Then we have Michael Owen with 89.
Yes.
John Barnes with 79. Kevin Keegan, quite rightly in the chat, with 63. Emmeline Hughes with 62, tied with a man with the same initials, Emil Heskey at 62 as well. Ray Clements with 61, Peter Beardsley with 59, James Milner with 54, and one that I thought, well, actually, I was, I wouldn't have guessed that. I would have gone Carragher, but it's not. It's Paul Ince.
Oh.
So, how many did we get? Kev?
I got 7.
You got 7. That's a great score. 14 points to Kev. Neil?
7.
7, so 14 to Neil. And Colin?
I got 3 correct. I had like
6.
4 or 5 down, but only 3 correct.
Wow, good. Okay. There are a couple in there that would have, like I said, I would never have got Ince in a million years. I would have put Carragher in that list, but apparently not in there. Okay, so let's move on to our next point of discussion. And it's one that I feel is a good move. I think in the summer, it was perhaps, if it was ever going to happen, time for this defender to go. But since he has stayed, James Pearce of The Athletics have said Liverpool left back Kostas Tsimikas is set to sign a new contract. The Scouser, who is Greek, has agreed a 2-year extension to his current deal that will keep him at Anfield until the summer of 2027. First thoughts will go alternate ways. Colin, first thoughts on a Tsimikas 2-year contract extension, which takes him up to 2027. And please, everybody else watching, listening, do put your comments in the chat and we'll get to them as well, please.
Love it. Good squad depth, good player. Someone who seems to really care about the club and cares about playing and putting in a performance for the club. Low risk in terms of financial obligation. He's not going to be, he's not going to be one of the highest earners. But still, I think a really good backup. I think a lot of teams would be really thrilled with him as their first choice left back. And just to have, we expect to play and to be playing in 4 competitions for, a good majority of the season. And when you do have that kind of expectation as a club, you need players who you're going to trust, who are going to play, who are going to start games that are not, City at home. We're going to have an FA Cup game at, some League One team. And like, you need someone that you trust to play those games, but it doesn't necessarily need to be your starting left back or whatever it is. So I'm very happy to have him. I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, captain of his national team as well. He's obviously got some clout, and I'll just go straight to Neil really with a similar question. Not necessarily is he good enough for the first team, because at this moment in time I don't quite think he is, but at the same time, is he the sort of backup player that you would say, yeah, actually I do want him sticking around for the next couple of years?
I think he's a good backup to Andy Robertson, and he will give him a reprieve in the cup competition. So I'd expect to see him starting in Europa League games, Carabao Cup games, and FA Cup games when that gets underway. And I think as a backup left back, he's a good option. He's done well for the club. We're probably lacking someone of similar quality on the right at the moment, with Connor Bradley and others being out injured. So it's a strange one for me. It feels like we're trying to protect his transfer value a little bit to me, rather than saying we want this guy at the club until 2027. And we may find that, we've got academy players that can come into that role before 2027. So I'm not against it if it protects his value. I like Kostas. I think he's very, very popular amongst the Liverpool squad and with fans as well. I don't see him being there until 2027. I think it'll be end of next season, potentially, that we start to look to move him on, and probably move him on for his own benefit if he's not getting as much game time as he needs. So yeah, I saw it more as that, rather than he is going to be at Anfield until 2027.
Yeah, he is 27 years old as well, so he is coming into his prime. He will be wanting first team football, and I think he is good enough for lots of teams, to have that first team experience and to play first team football as well, especially with the Euros around the corner. Kev, for you, good deal, yes or no, that Tsimikas signs an extension?
I totally agree with what Neil said. I think it's just to look after the asset and look at how we can move them on at some point when we bring either left centre back in or a left back in. I think it's solely just for that, and I think it's crude. It's actually good by the club to actually extend his contract and give him an opportunity, not only to he'll probably play the most games he's ever played this season due to us playing in the Europa League. He'll get more opportunities, and it'll give him a chance to put his name in on him and show what he's made of. I don't think he is a decent left back to Robertson. I think he's more of a liability at times when he comes on, from what I see. And in my opinion, I'd see someone who lacks the defensive mindedness, the pace, and the intelligence to play in a Klopp side, in a Klopp team. Gives away far too many individual errors for me. Personal fouls he gets into a lot of messiness around the centre, around where he should be. I've seen him times being as high up as the highest forward player on the pitch. I've got nothing against the lad. I think he'll come in for the Europa games. I think that's probably his level. And the FA Cup games as well. I think he's good around the squad. There's no doubt about that. He's well liked. But for me, he's a liability when he comes on, for me, for pace and his positional sense.
And especially move into this, if we are still going with this inverted right back with Trent, he's going to have to tuck inside and be a lot more defensively sound. He's actually only in the 15th percentile for tackling. So he doesn't actually win that many tackles. He has assisted 12 goals for Liverpool in 62 appearances, which suits his game a little bit better. He's a player I think, as all of you have said, he seems quite well liked. And I think until an academy player is perhaps ready to come through, it probably will be Tsimikas there, which homegrown quota doesn't really help us out there too, because everyone knows what our homegrown quota is like. But it is a done deal. I do hope that the Scouser, who is Greek, as he calls himself, not the Greek Scouser, does well. And maybe, just maybe, he might net a winning penalty again for us like he did against Chelsea. Quiz round 2. Are we all ready?
Can't wait.
Ready.
Okay. Sticking with the theme of internationals, I am looking for 5 Liverpool players who have won the World Cup whilst playing for Liverpool. There are 5 players who have won the World Cup whilst playing for Liverpool. If you get 5 out of 5 here, lads, I'll transfer you £100 straight away, because the 5th one I had no clue on. You're going to have 45 seconds. Okay, 45 seconds. 5 players who have won the World Cup whilst playing for Liverpool. Who are they? Your time starts now. And everybody else at home, please do not quickly Google this and put it into the chat. Okay, you can press enter after those 45 seconds, or now 35 seconds left. 5 Liverpool players who have won the World Cup whilst playing for Liverpool. Okay, there are a couple in recent memory, some not so recent. And that is time up, guys. So please do make sure to leave a like and a subscribe. Okay, we have over 50 people joining us on this sweltering Saturday night. So thank you so much for everybody joining us. And thank you so much for spending your time with us. Let's go to Neil first. I tell you what, instead of me telling you, which ones have you got?
Well, I've got 5 names, but I only know one is right.
Go on then.
Oh,
give us some. Sorry, go on. I missed it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah.
So Alexis McAllister.
He wasn't playing for Liverpool.
Liverpool.
I've got Emre Can. I don't know whether.
Nope.
I've got Karl-Heinz Riedler.
Nope. I think he
These
came
are just
after us,
shots in the
didn't he?
dark.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He came
no,
in
that's good.
97.
Yeah, I think he came in afterwards.
This is a total guess. Andrea Dossena.
Nope.
And the other one, the French centre back, went to Crystal Palace. What's his
Sacco.
name? Sacco, yeah.
Yeah,
I suspect that's wrong.
he's not. That is wrong,
so
unfortunately. Right.
Appalling
No,
effort.
none. You got 0, didn't you?
Whoa! No way.
McAllister. Because he was at. Oh,
He
God.
was at Brighton. Yeah, he was at Brighton.
Yeah, I've had a
He was
mess.
obviously in the winter.
I've had.
That's right. It's really tricky. It's tricky. It is very, very tricky. Right, go to Kev.
Right, you've got Roger Hunt, 66.
Correct.
You've got Xabi Alonso.
He was not at Liverpool. That threw
He
me as
wasn't?
well. No, apparently not.
Oh,
He wasn't.
okay. Fernando Torres was.
He was. And that's what. And then I was like, oh, yeah, because Torres and Alonso weren't in the same team, were they?
That was
So,
10.
yeah.
That was 10 that Spain won.
Yeah. Then you've got Pepe Reina.
Well done. You've got 3.
And right, I would have went with what Vase of Flowers has said, Ian Callaghan.
Well done. It is Ian Callaghan. And it's still in that same group. Again, you've probably not got it because I would, again, your football knowledge is far more superior than me, but this one threw me massively. But it is still in that 66 squad.
Okay, so then you're looking at, is it Phil Thompson?
No.
Steve Highway? No.
No.
I've gone.
Colin, he's got 4. So we've got Torres, Reina, Roger Hunt, Ian Callaghan. Do you know the 5th?
No, I had Fernando Torres with a big old question mark because I couldn't remember if he had left at the point where he
No.
had won the World Cup.
No. Jerry Byrne is your fifth.
That was 66. 66.
Oh my God! Right. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Jerry Byrne was in there as well. So very, very well done for everybody else in the chat as well. Vase obviously had Callahan and Hunt as well. So well done. Lindo had Pepe Reina too. Okay, awesome. Right, our third bit of business then. It's a good job I have all of these written down because I can't ever remember. Our third bit of business. Of course, it's our headline title. 100 million for Bruno Guimaraes, allegedly. So when we first came on, I don't know if he's still in the chat, but give us a wave if you are still in here. BHM. We pull this. We're a news aggregator site, so for those of you just joining us, we basically collate all of the news. It's not us that make these things up. We do get it from sources all around the world, and this source came from Diarios, and it said Liverpool made a 100 million bid to Newcastle for midfielder Bruno Guimaraes during the last days of the transfer window, right after their attempt for Moises Caicedo falling through. That is on our Twitter page if anyone would like to go and have a look at the actual source itself as well. If this is to be believed, okay, because we have given it a reliability rating of fairly reliable. If this is to be believed, Neil, I'll go to you first. If it is to be believed, I'm saying, okay, we did bid. Okay, 100 million for Guimaraes. We won't go into the did we, didn't we, because we're not to know yet at this current moment in time. Would you have welcomed Guimaraes with open arms for around about 100 million pounds?
Tricky one. He's a good player. I think he started better at Newcastle than he's been over recent weeks, and how he finished the season. So I think he's proved that he can do it in the Premier League. I think it would be a lot of money. I mean, I go back to Jude Bellingham, and whilst I appreciate that Jude Bellingham, there was a lot more a lot more costs in terms of wages and agents' fees and everything. We kind of bought at a price of 90, 100 million for Bellingham. So if I compare it to that, it seems like a lot of money. Would I have welcomed him with open arms? Yes, because I think he is potentially a very, very good player. I'm not too despondent though with the business that we've done. I think we've brought in some excellent players. So I'm excited about Dominic Szoboszlai. And I think he could be top class player. So yeah, I would have liked Bruno, but am I that bothered that we didn't get him, or if we indeed went for him? No.
And I suppose, with, again, if that bid is to be believed, with that Caicedo money, we were going out not to get a 6 then with Bruno. And actually what we did with that money is spend a lot less on a Ryan Gravenberch. So, there's that to think of as well. Colin, thinking about those two transfers then, and again, whilst Bruno Guimaraes did hit the ground running for Newcastle, and he was allegedly offered to us last January at a very, very cut rate deal from Lyon. Do you think Liverpool perhaps not dodged a bullet because he is a great player, but do you think Liverpool getting Gravenberch for a lot less money, might actually be getting more of a player and perhaps have more money to spend in the coming transfer window / seasons? Because we know how we operate. Spending 100 million pounds, that probably would have depleted our budget for the next 10 years.
Yeah. I think the club is very happy. I think they will spend the money, that kind of money, if they are really convinced that this person is the sort of final finished product that they're looking for in that kind of age range. Now, like getting Gravenberch's ceiling is incredibly high. It's really, really high based on his age, the amount of minutes he's played at his age, the price that we've paid. Like those are all, they all bode very well for us. The risk is that there's a lot of factors that just could prevent him from reaching the ceiling. Or he could be an absolute world beater in a year. So that kind of risk is what we've opted for, whether or not we have bid the 100 million. I think that would kind of show an indication that we really felt like he's the kind of finished final product that we would be looking for. Hard to say at this point without seeing Gravenberch play a minute for us, if that is going to be like incredible business or decent business. Hopefully it's incredible business.
Yeah, hopefully so. I think it will be. And like you said, it's much, much lower risk than £100 million player coming in for a Bruno Guimaraes. And it's not as if Newcastle need the money either. So they obviously didn't have to sell. Kev, right. We don't try to talk about the validity of the source, but we can sort of speculate. There are people in the chat as well who have asked about, the reliability of the source. So do we believe Liverpool bid 100 million for Bruno Guimaraes?
It's very hard to see that we did. We seem to be doing one deal at a time, so there's no way we were doing multiple deals at the same time. I'd like to believe that we did have alternatives to Caicedo, but the way it went and how it ended, I don't think there was many that was on the table. The only one that was on the list and stayed on the list from start to finish was Ryan Gravenberch, who we ended up getting. I was a bit bewildered by the actual remarks as well. I think this would have frustrated fans had we not got Gravenberch in, and we then see that we were looking at this, and if our business hadn't gone as well as what it was, this would have infuriated the fan base, I think, because why didn't we go all out for him? I do think as the article does go on, it does say that we do see him as a short term and a long term person, that prospect that we're looking at, and I totally agree with that. I think he's a great player. He hasn't started. I agree with Neil. He hasn't started the season well, and I agree with what Colin said. We haven't seen Gravenberch play his minutes yet, but there is an expectancy that he will reach the levels of what he did at Ajax, and we long to see it. And the fact that he didn't say that is why he didn't go there, is because he wanted to instill himself into Liverpool, which is great to see. So he's got the right assets and the right mentality. Guimaraes, I would love. Last season, I was kind of jealous that we didn't. I was kind of annoyed that we never went for him, or didn't take up the option to take him in January. But at the end of the day, I'm quite happy with what we've got, to be honest. And if there's a little bit of a chance a bit further down the line, he gets a bit bewildered with Newcastle, because there's no guarantee that they'll be there next season in the Champions League, and there's no guarantee that they'll be in the top 5 this season. So it's kind of seeing where that goes. And if he gets bewildered and wants to leave, then I'd be all over us trying to get him at a decent price.
Yeah, he's one hell of a player, and he would absolutely fit that Jurgen Klopp midfield. I have said it before as well. I think Joe Linton would fit Jurgen Klopp's midfield at any club as well. Maybe not. We don't need it at Liverpool, but he certainly would be a Klopp player. Again, I wouldn't know where this source got their information from, because if you're FSG, you're certainly not leaking that you've still got, 70, 80 million left in the coffers for transfers. So, where the source came from, I'm afraid we don't have that idea, but we do just report on them. Paul's asked you a question, Kev. Why did we abandon Thuram? Do you know?
I don't know personally, but I think Slobosly deal kind of harboured any chance of us getting Thuram. I think Neil would be probably, or yourself or Colin would be better to ask that. But my common sense thing would be that Slobosly deal was done, and it then left us with less chance of bringing in Thuram, who's a similar kind of player.
Yeah, I think there were rumours and rumblings on Twitter as well that Thuram wanted an outrageous wage that would have taken him
as well as that,
over, the likes, earning more than the likes of Luis Diaz. So I think that perhaps would have, gone against him if, again, these rumors are alleged to be true. Round 3 of the quiz, the third and the final round.
Come on, Neil, you can win this. Come on.
I'm broken after the last round.
Like
I just
Phoenix
went
from the
blank.
Flames. You can come back.
You don't get any points for this, but I can't relive this moment. So I'm going to ask you guys to. Who are the current European Championship holders?
Italy.
Yeah,
Italy.
correct. Yeah, who do they beat in the final?
England.
Yeah, that's enough been said there. So Liverpool. I mean, listen, we're not talking about England, definitely not, but that's by the by. Liverpool have had 5 players represent Italy whilst playing for the Reds. Okay, so they've played for Italy whilst also playing for Liverpool at the same time. Only 5, which, to be fair, isn't all that shocking because not too many Italians do come over to the Premier League. So Liverpool have had 5 players represent Italy whilst also playing for the Reds. Who are they? There are 5 of them, so I'll give you 45 seconds. Again, guys, you are welcome to join us, but please do not put your answers into the chat until the 45 seconds is up. Are you ready? Are you set? Go.
I'm struggling, Neil and Cole, so this is your opportunity here.
I've got
They're
3
all
names.
recent.
I've got 3 written down.
Yeah, they're all fairly recent as well, to be fair. Vase of Flowers, you're going to get kicked out soon. I did ask for no comms. You will be getting the boot.
I haven't
I'll put
seen
you in.
that.
I can actually put user in timeout. So there you go.
Oh.
You're in a timeout now.
I've only got 3. Cool.
And your time is up. So, Colin, you can go first.
I have Mario Balotelli. And I have
Correct.
Fabio Borini.
Correct.
That's the only 2 I have.
Okay, 2 out of 2. Not too bad. Well done. Kev.
I also had the centre. I had Balotelli. Aquilani.
Correct.
And I'm now Barini. We've mentioned the centre. Barini. Did we mention him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got him. The centre. And they're the only 4 I've got.
Do you want to go for the last one, Neil?
No, I've got Balotelli, Aquilani, Dossena, and Barini. What position was the final player?
Gabriel Paletta. Anybody know what
no
position?
way.
Was he centre back?
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was centre back.
Played in the back 4.
Yeah, remember him, but not too well. But yeah, Gabriel Paletta was the 5th one. So there we go. They were the 5 Italians who played for Italy the same time they did for Liverpool. Okay, and I did mean to put Vase of Flowers. If you are still there, I did just mean to give you a timeout, but it looks like your comments have been disabled for this stream. So I am really sorry. I've never used that function before, and it was a joke that sort of backfired. So I hope to see you again soon, and I do apologise. Okay, but I did ask very nicely as well. Right, internationals then. Have you guys been keeping up with the Liverpool players on international duty at all?
A little bit.
A little bit. Who have you seen, Kev? Talk to us.
I've saw Robertson do something at left back that I've never seen him do for Liverpool and wish he could. I know he plays over.
Yeah.
Nunes shown his qualities for Uruguay with his 2 assists. Gakpo taking his goal well for Holland. And I want to dance with Szoboszlai scoring an absolute belt of a free kick as well.
Yeah, that I saw that Robertson goal actually today, and I was like, "Where's that been hiding? That must have been a 1 in a million shot because he's certainly not ever done that for Liverpool. That was sensational. Colin, you look like you want to say something. Do you want to chip in?
He's scored a few goals for Scotland that are like that.
I know.
Absolute screamers. Like I've never seen him hit a ball that clean ever.
No, it was sensational. But then again, Scotland are banging them in. McTominay, I think he's scored the most goals out of all of the players at the European Championship qualifiers. So, yeah, absolutely. Do make sure that you leave a like and subscribe to the channel for us on this sweltering Saturday night. Neil, Darwin Nunez, as Kev quite rightly said, has registered 2 assists for Uruguay. And he actually, I saw bits of him. I wouldn't say I watched the whole 90 minutes. But what I did see in his 70 minutes, they were phenomenal. And he looks like he's growing more and more and more. And I don't want to hype him up too much with his second season, as we saw at Benfica, but he looks like he's developing, doesn't he?
He does, and I think he's going to benefit because I think he's got Bielsa now, hasn't he, as the coach of Uruguay, and I think that will benefit him. He's working with him and working with Jurgen Klopp, so arguably he's got 2 of the best coaches in the world to work with him. It does feel like he is progressing. And I saw something, I think, last week about they spoke to him about his head position when he was shooting, and that made the difference against Newcastle. I saw one of the goals last night, and I think it was the first one that he gave the assist for. It was a lovely one-touch pass, which has read the run into the midfielder's path. So it does feel like he is developing. He's got that feel about it, and as I say, working with the coaches that he's got, I think he's just going to go and get better and better. Even against Aston Villa, yes, he should have scored. However, he was involved in so much good that we did against Villa that it feels like he could explode very, very soon.
Yeah, and again, I know he hit the post and then it came back and went in off Matty Cash, but he certainly did register at least 1 assist that game as well. And, as long as people are scoring for Liverpool and as long as he is scoring or assisting as a forward, that is his job. We've seen so many times Roberto Firmino was not prolific in front of goal. And I know he did play a different position, but he's still involved with the goals, Firmino, and we loved Bobby for it. And if Nunez can replicate even half of what Bobby does, then he'll be an absolutely massive success. Kev, Trent sat on the bench all the game today when England desperately needed a winning goal against Ukraine. And I did watch the game, and it felt like for about 70, 80 minutes, England absolutely dominated, but they couldn't find a way through. And it's very frustrating as a Liverpool player. It must be for someone of Trent's quality to go, if you put me on the pitch, I can break through that line. I mean, without talking too much about Southgate, because again, different story, England international, but good for Liverpool. Trent gets a bit of a rest. Is it really good for Trent, though, that he's not being selected when the game is basically set up for him to come on to win it?
Nope. And I don't think he will come on. I think it does look at the way Southgate plays his teams. It's strange in a way that if you look at Southgate and how England play, and I'll ask this to yourself, Richie, I know he's an England fan. You've got the top sides in the country playing the style of football. That should be mimicked by the England team. An England setup makes it simple for the top players to come in and play, because predominantly, majority of players are coming in from the top 6, top 7 sides. You've got Southgate, who's a centre-back. He doesn't take these into consideration and plays a very reserved, harboured, let's stay compact 3-5-2 system, which is more of a 90s style kind of football base. Until he leaves, I don't think England will win anything, and I don't think England's style of tactics help any of the offensive players, such as Trent. I think it harbours them. I think it's hard for them to put Trent in. So, to yourself, should England be changing their style of play and style of formation to one that the top 6 sides do in this country? And then as a second question, do you think that only by doing that, do you see Trent playing more predominantly.
Southgate is a very safe manager, and he always has been. He's only really just come out of his flat back 5/wing backs, which is why I think Trent didn't play as much, because Kyle Walker was on that right hand side, who did get his first goal today in 77 appearances for England. So well done. But he's, England have a wealth, an absolute wealth, and they have done for about 4 or 5 years of attacking players. But Southgate doesn't really like to use them as attacking players. It seems like he does like that security, as you quite rightly said, about being a centre-back. He likes to keep clean sheets, which is why Pickford does have so many clean sheets for England, which is why actually Maguire plays very well for England, because he's in a safe system. Now, he might not have played very well today, but again, that's a different story. He is usually the first name on the, that back 4 team sheet. And that's because he's protected. And that's because Southgate, as a centre-back, doesn't want to play the same system as a Pep, as a Klopp, as a whoever the Chelsea manager is in this flipping managerial merry-go-round. Southgate needs to be brave in what team he selects, because I genuinely believe, and I'm not even being biased, I think France maybe, but England in terms of squad have an absolute wealth. They have one of the best squads in all of the world. But for me, Southgate can't utilise that squad because he isn't brave enough, doesn't take enough risks, but really he just likes that back 4. He likes that back 5 to stay there, which is why he quite clearly doesn't trust Trent to defend. So, and when Trent does play, he plays in a defensive midfield role 6, either next to Henderson or Rice. Again, you don't need to play 2 holding midfielders and a flat back 4 against half of these European qualifiers, if I'm completely honest. And that's not me being disrespectful. It's horses for courses. We've seen so many different times over the years Southgate not playing to the strengths of his squad. There's no way that England should have lost that European Championship. When we went a goal up through Luke Shaw, he should have carried on attacking, but he didn't. He sat back and basically just wanted to soak up the pressure, maybe get a counter-attack, and then Italy perhaps would be put to bed. But it didn't happen, and they went on to score. And there are some strange selections. It's not just Trent. In that European Championships, he had an outright refusal, it seemed, to play Jack Grealish, who was playing for Aston Villa, I think, at the time. I think it was just before he moved to Man City, who was on fire, and everyone was crying for Grealish. Same as, against France. Dropped Marcus Rashford, who was in really good form. And again, it's like, without... Kev, you're right, because I tried to get on the Southgate train, but I think for England, our players, such as Trent Alexander-Arnold, won't benefit with him as England manager. Neil, again, whilst England might not be at the forefront of your mind, what about other international teams and our players? Who do you think plays for their country either better or very similar to the way in which they play for Liverpool, and how is that replicated?
That's a tricky one. I mean, you can look at Alisson. Alisson actually didn't start for Brazil. I think it was yesterday. Ederson started instead, and I know they do sometimes alternate the keepers, but the fact that Alisson didn't play, it was like, wow, we know how good he is. I think he performs well for Brazil. Alexis McAllister, for me, for the first hour of the World Cup final, was the best player on the pitch. So you see similar level performances from him. Salah's got an outstanding record for Egypt. Diaz is crucial for Colombia as well. And then you've already mentioned Robbo and some of the things that he does for Scotland that we don't necessarily see in an England shirt. So I think that there's a few players that that do replicate their form. Gakpo's been good. I think he scored 4 goals in the World Cup as well.
Yeah, very good in the World Cup.
So yeah, but the one that really stands out for me is McAllister, and he showed his quality with being the best for 70 minutes, the best player on the pitch in the World Cup final until Mbappe went a bit wild. So yeah, he's the one for me.
Yeah, and funnily, really, because he's probably not been able to show that elite style yet, because he's not been playing in that position for Liverpool, or he's not been given that role there that he can link up with the attacking players.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Colin,
just on Trent, he has got a bit of a hamstring issue. I think he's had a scan on it. So I think he's actually withdrawn from the squad. So he won't be. It's touch and go. I think whether he'll be available for the Wolves game. because he did come off, didn't he, against Aston Villa with a few minutes to go.
Well, Joe Gomez at right back then, perhaps, if Konate is back, and he can obviously switch to the right hand side, and hopefully Trent will be back, but we will see. Colin, international football then.
Mm-hmm.
You're experiencing a bit of a boom in the United States, aren't you, and the North American football?
Yeah, it's we have for the first time in a long time have a really like a wealth of young talent. Our manager, who they have just renewed a contract for, is similarly terrible as Southgate is. Just like overcomplicating and trying to basically trying more to play a system that he wants rather than maybe than the system that would work best for the players that we have. And yeah, he's deeply frustrating to. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. There's been a lot of literature written about him recently, but yeah, the players themselves love them. Absolutely, they go to battle for us every time that they're out there. So they're a lot of fun to watch. Them trying to play in the system, maybe less so fun. But
it's funny, isn't it, with international managers trying to play their way? That shouldn't happen. For club managers, fine, you can do that because you can bring the players in who want to play your way. But international managers don't have that luxury because they only have a national pool available to them. So you can't force, I don't know, let's say Trent Alexander-Arnold for England. You can't force him to be a defensive right back that Southgate wants. You have to play to their strengths. And, there are lots of times where that doesn't happen. Again, playing Jordan Henderson today as an attacking midfielder while Maddison was out on the left, it just baffles me. It genuinely does. So, anyway, that's international football. I'm sure we can't wait for next weekend. It's an early kickoff. Of course it is, because always after the international campaign, Liverpool are on the early kickoff. It is at 12:30 against Wolverhampton Wanderers. What are we saying? Because I'm not going to see you guys before the game next week. Kev, are we coming away with a win?
I think we do. I think we're now in the... It's going to be mad the next couple of weeks because we play something like 5 games in 14 days, 15 days. And the games all over the place. You've got Premier League, you've got Carabao Cup, and you've got the Europa League all marked in. So we'll be expecting a lot of rotation going on. Hopefully the lads who come back from international break come back without any injuries, any scars, and we move on to Wolves. I think it's the right time to be playing Wolves. I think it's a good opportunity to go down there and hopefully do something that we should always do. And we're now in a period of games where we lost against these similar type of games last season, and they were our downfall. I think going into this game, I think there'll be a lot of confidence, a lot of energy, and it'll be something different. It'll be nice to see Gravenberch given a debut at some point. Looking forward to that, and I'm fully expecting 3 points.
Yeah, Gravenberch withdrew, didn't he, as well from the under-21 squad, so we can focus on Liverpool. So let's hope that is let's hope it's a decision that won't come back to bite him like it did Fabio Carvalho, but I'm sure he has had a conversation with Klopp, etc., etc. Neil, coming away with a win from Wolves?
Yeah, I do expect us to win, but it never feels like an easy game, and sometimes we have found it tough there. Even last season, I think we lost 3-0. I think we've scraped a couple of 1-0s. If I remember 2 seasons ago, Divock
Origi, that goal, yeah.
In injury time. So I think I don't think it'll be easy. I do expect us to have the quality to win. I thought we played really well against Aston Villa, showed more control over the game than we have for some time. Wolves have got some dangerous
because we had 11
players.
men on the pitch.
Well, exactly. That makes a difference as well. Wolves. I watched Wolves against Manchester United first game, and they absolutely dominated United and had 23 shots, but couldn't score. And I think that said something about Man United, and it also said something about Wolves as well. So I think they do struggle to convert the chances that they make. They've also lost Matheus Nunes, who was one of the players that impressed against United in the game that I saw. So, providing everyone comes back fit and in the same mindset as we showed against Aston Villa, then I'm confident that we'll get the 3 points.
Colin, player to watch against Wolves. Who would it be if you could pick just one player to watch? It could be any player at all.
Luis Diaz. I think he's started out so sharp. We touched on it last week. It was so harsh for him when he got taken off early. I thought he was our best player in that game up to that point. And I really can see him having like a goal and an assist and like a 8.5 rating on the game.
Luis Diaz, everyone get Luis Diaz into your FPL teams as soon as possible.
Do it.
We have we've been the Saturday Night Club, Kev, Neil, Colin, and myself. Thank you all so much for joining us. If you haven't already, please do leave a like and a subscribe to the channel. And we will see you all next week. As always, stay safe and up the Reds.